Hot damn, it's Portugal the Man, and you are listening to Recess with Spinelli.
You are listening to Recess with Spinelli here on WSPN, Saratoga Springs, New York, Hoxton FM, London, England, the International Radio Festival, and the New York State Music Blog. And today we are here with Portugal the Man from Portland, Oregon. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, doing some research on you guys, I saw that you did a performance, or at least you worked with a bunch of middle schoolers in a jazz band to record a song, and I thought that was kind of cool. What was the motivation for that?
Well, we work with an organization called Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation, and we work with them a lot because their motives are very, very simple. They just acquire instruments. They raise money to buy instruments to donate to schools, to give to kids for music programs, and we just like how simple that is. It's something that we support hugely. That's how I fell in love with music, was from my elementary, middle school, and high school music programs. And so we picked, there's a specific middle school called Ron Russell Middle out in Portland that they focus a lot on their music program, and all the parents, they raise money, and they really think it's important. So we've worked with them a couple of times, and the basic idea was that we would bring the seventh grade band in to our warehouse, our studio, and we set them up and we filmed them and recorded them playing our last single, Feel It Still, live, and then we are going to sing over. We're going to edit it, sing over it, and release it as a single online to raise more money for Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation. Our keyboard player just wrote out all the charts. He's classically trained and stuff like that, so he handles most of that. He knows music more than any of us. So he just wrote out the charts, send them over, and we did slightly different arrangements because we only have so many elements on that song, but we wrote out different things for everybody in the band. It was pretty fun. It was an awesome day, and we worked them pretty hard, and we had to show them that being a professional musician isn't easy, but we wanted it to still be fun. So we had pizza, we hung out all day, we let the kids and the guys that played keys get on we've got in our warehouse, we've got 8 or 9 analog synthesizers hooked up, and we turned up the volume on our PA and just let them get weird and blast stuff, and let everybody jam on our things. I think they had a good time. What
were some of the things or reactions you got from the students that really struck home with you?
They were finding themselves. That's what they were. All the questions that they asked, I just remember I remember thinking that, because for some reason that's when everything kind of clicked for me personally, was 7th grade. That's when I met our guitarist Eric, and when I first fell in love with my own music. I'd always loved, things my parents gave to me or my older cousins, but 12 years old, I found Nirvana, I found the Beastie Boys, I found Rage Against the Machine, and it started me digging deeper and finding my own music. And so that's what was the most fun, is hearing them ask questions on kids that were kind of getting there and kids that weren't there yet. But I remember that age, and it's very, very specific. It's just kind of the start of your formative years, I think, when you really find out what you like and what you want to do.
In those formative years, what were some of the things going through your mind that were perhaps potential challenges? I mean, was this something you really wanted to pursue at that age, or?
I mean, it was never something I wanted to pursue. I just knew I wanted to do it. I mean, we didn't take it seriously forever. I mean, we just knew. I just started touring because I figured I was young and I wasn't married yet and I didn't need to make money, and I just wanted to go out and see the world and play music. And so we lived in a van. We slept on hardwood floors. We did that. We were pretty much homeless for years, and it was some of the best times of my life, and we made really good friends. And so at that age, I just knew that was when I found out that I could do it. I grew up, listening to Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and the Beatles, and I could never. My dad had an old acoustic guitar lying around the closet, and I never thought that I could pick up and play like Jimmy Page. But when I found Nirvana, I heard that, and it hit me so hard. But it's relatively simple. I listened to it, and I was like, I think I could learn how to play that. And I picked up a guitar and I learned how to play it. And from there, it made me think maybe I could write a song like that. And so I just started. and I wrote a ton. And then I got together with my friends, and they wrote a ton, we wrote a ton, and it all just started. And then we moved down from Alaska to Portland, Oregon. That was the other thing, is there just wasn't a lot going on in Wasilla, Alaska. It's amazing for like the natural beauty, but it's very isolated. We don't have a lot of art. We don't have a lot of outside culture. We have, Native American art and culture, and then some, Russian influence, I guess. Besides that, there was not a lot of, influence, other cultures coming in. It was all pretty much just small town, white small town Alaska. And so I was always really interested in seeing other things, but it made me really thirsty to just get out. And when I went to Portland, it's such a lively artistic community with film and art galleries and photography and music and bars, and I was just thirsty for it. So I moved down to Portland. I was just out every night seeing some band I'd never heard of for $3 at some bar, and it made me realize that we could go do that. So we played music, and we just decided to put everything on hold, and we went out. And I always thought I was just going to do it for a while. I was like, I'm just going to take a few years off college and go do this for a bit. And then we'd get signed to a label, and then be like, all right, I'm going to do this for a little longer. Then, we'd move up and got on a different label, or then shows started going well. And eventually I just, we just was like, oh, well, I guess we're professional musicians now. So now we got to really take it seriously.
Wasilla, Alaska, do you go back up there a lot to do shows, or do you perform in Alaska a lot?
Yeah, not a ton. Every year or two, we go back up there to do a show. We just we use it as an excuse. 3 of the 5 of us are from, still have family up there. Our moms still live up there and everything. So we go up at least once a year for Christmas. We usually plan a show around then just because it's fun. But we go up, last year I went up 5 times. We film a lot of music videos up there. We write a lot up there. It's just where it's still our home in a way, even though we've definitely set up camp in Portland, Oregon, and it's an amazing town. It's the best town in the country, really.
Well, one of the things I hear a lot from bands is that when they go to perform in places where you have less traffic, less musical traffic of tours coming through, that the audience definitely seems to be more appreciative of the acts they get. So growing up in Wasilla, did you find yourself being very appreciative of any band that was passing through and that you got the chance to see?
Oh, hell yeah. I went to every single show that came up there. I remember paying $75 for a Garth Brooks ticket. I don't like Garth Brooks. And especially not at the time. Now, as a songwriter and stuff, I'm like, okay, totally respect him. But at the time, I had Liberty spikes. I had piercings all over my face. I was like, not a Garth Brooks fan. But I knew it was going to be the only live music I'd see for, 2 or 3 months. So I went to absolutely everything I could. And we did have really cool venues. And I understand now how hard it is to play in those places, because it's not just about getting up there and playing for a smaller fan base. Resources are difficult. The lighting packages up there, you can't rent the lights you normally have. They just don't exist because nobody has them up there. All the gear that when we go up and rent, I always, if I have to rent gear if we're doing a flat or something, I rent the most pretty much standard, equipment, and they don't have one of those in Alaska. And so I'm probably just going to start a rental company. I'm just going to buy a bunch of stuff so that I can use it when I'm home. And then when other bands come up, I'll just let them have it for free because I want to support artists going to Alaska.
Your music definitely seems to have a social message with it. So does that kind of go in tandem with concerts being a social event where you can not only listen to music, but obviously meet other people and get to know people?
Oh, absolutely. That was the whole thing with doing that in Portland when we first moved down. It's got a very, very tight-knit, small local scene. And we actually didn't fit in as well because we were one of the few bands that we got down there and we left. We're a Portland band, but we're never in Portland. I'm never home. And I definitely spend most of my time on a bus or planes or hotels. And so it was really hard to gain it took years and years to gain that hometown crowd in Portland, even though that's where we're pretty much from. But yeah, it definitely is a thing to just surround yourself with like-minded people, and I think that's really interesting. I like going to a lot of different kind of shows, not necessarily people I'd hang out with, but I just find that I find that stuff interesting. I just kind of want to see everything when it comes to, people and food and drink and everything around the world.
With the social aspect, what do you think is the best way to kind of touch base with your fans, or at least get closer with them so you understand them better?
Well, social media is the cat's pajamas when it comes to that. I mean, ever since, we've always been kind of ahead of the game when it comes to that. Anytime something new comes out, we latch on, and it's also because I wish I had that when I was younger. I wish I could have grown up and, when I was at home in Alaska at 12 years old, I wish I could get on the phone and just see what Rage Against the Machine does on their day off. I just that'd be interesting. Or hearing them rant about politics or what kind of things they eat is just it's just interesting. A lot of the mystery is gone, but I still think it's cool. It's important if you like an artist and you kind of want to get to know them and dig a little deeper than just their music, and that makes the music just makes you connect in a whole different way. And so there's that, and then, honestly, we just hang out, man. We talk with everybody. We go out, tonight we're going to play a show. We'll probably end up at the bar down the street. We're going to meet a bunch of people. We hang out. We talk. We like that kind of stuff. It's fun for us.
Actually, the concept of having mystery with a band I always find interesting, because some bands say the more often you release music is the less mystery that the band has. So if you wait 4 or 5 years, there's more mystery, and it kind of gives that mystique and makes people want more. So, as far as with the new album Woodstock, was there a purpose behind the delayed release?
No, there was not a purpose behind it. I mean, there was a reason. We didn't take time off, and that's never been our thing. A lot of bands do think that way, and a lot of bands are lazy. And we just constantly like to create. We constantly like to write. And on this one, we just wrote too much music. We wrote 2 or 3 albums worth of music. We had about 50 songs and about 3 to 8 versions of each song, and we just had a hard time narrowing it down. And so we kind of wiped the slate clean and kind of trashed that entire album and went in and just started something new, went in focused. We found something to kind of talk about, something to write for, and we just went in and did it over the last year or so. Whenever you're writing a song or writing an album or doing art or editing or doing mixes, you're never done. You just have to stop at some point.
Now, will those songs ever see the daylight?
I hope so. I mean, we picked a couple and kind of changed them and did some things and put a few on this album, or pieces of them at least. And then we've got a lot of other good ones. It wasn't the right time. We were kind of wrapping up that album right before the political and social climate in this country was changing, and we didn't really feel right about putting out an album that didn't mention any of that. So there's really good stuff on there, but it's not something that needs to be heard right now. We have about 200 songs that we haven't released, and it's just the time's not right, or hopefully we'll rework them, or find some other fun ways to put them out.
So would you say that you prefer songs that are fairly straightforward in their interpretation, or would you say you like songs more that require a little bit more digging to find those Easter eggs in the meaning?
Oh yeah, I like really deep stuff. I like stuff that honestly pretty much sounds like nonsense, because I like to create my own world. When it comes to lyrics and connection, I don't even want to know. If I could go back in time and talk to Kurt Cobain, I'd ask him a million questions, but I'd never ask what he meant about a song, about lyrics that he wrote. It does not matter to me. He said he was getting that out of something, you breathe out something and then somebody else breathes it in. It's each and every one of those songs means something very particular to me, and that's my personal investment in the art or in the music. And so, no, I like songs that do make you think. But then there is also, if you can just say something flat out and it can be unbelievably meaningful, then yeah, that's amazing too. I like both. I don't like to decide between the two. I totally like both. If anybody asks, we always tell them what the songs are about or anything, but I prefer people to just have their own idea about it, because that's just what I like. But if they want to know, I'll gladly tell them.
Actually, when it comes to writing music, do you find that the songs that work out the best are the ones that flow the most naturally, in the sense that you're not overthinking, you're just kind of letting things hit the paper faster?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Take our last single, Feel It Still. We had been working on other songs for years, changing them over and over again, overthinking them, and Feel It Still came together in about an hour and a half, and it's and it's doing better than any other song we have. It's just got that natural thing. I've always been a fan. We all have different things. John, our singer and main songwriter, he likes to overthink. He likes to change a million things and try absolutely everything. I personally like initial reaction. I think your first response is just the most pure and the one that means the most. Granted, we always try. We'll try 50 ideas, but I always like going back to the one. It's rare that I change my mind about that. Lyrics are a little different because, like I said, things change, and sometimes we just change lyrics because they make more sense. And then you find the songs start to kind of take on their own life, and a lot of time we're just talking lyrically. We're just like speaking off the top of our heads. Some things just aren't even connected at all. And then after we sit back, we're like, and you don't really know why. You're just like, I like this. This makes sense to me, even though. Like this verse is about, the Chicago riots in the late 60s. And this verse is about, a boxer in the 1940s. It doesn't really make sense, but you're just like, it makes sense to me somehow. And then after we hear it for a while, we sit back and you kind of realize how your brain works. And you're like, oh, I said that because I was thinking of this. And there's all these connections in you. So we actually really figure out what a song is about after we're done with it, and we sit on it for about a week, and we kind of know what we were trying to get out, because everybody's got things just coming out of them. It's like dreams, man. It's you don't know why you have certain feelings or certain reactions, and it takes a minute to kind of see it on paper and to really figure it out. And that's the fun part for me.
All right, and it looks like we're actually getting closer to stage time here. So before we head off, any final thoughts on the album, the tour, anything else you want to talk about?
Not much. It's called Woodstock. It's out June 16th. Grab it. It's really good. And we're going to be on tour forever.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, man.
You have been listening to Recess with Spinelli here on WSPN Saratoga, Hoxton FM London, the International Radio Festival, and the New York State Music Blog. We have been speaking with Portugal the Man. The new album Woodstock is out and available on June 16th.